to Boston, lives in a world she's lost in, victim of compromise. He's staring at her Aberdeen heart, London eyes, Glasgow bones. She's whistling the catacombs, a paradox. He's in love with the statue in a marble block. He's in love with the girl that time forgot. She just shakes her ears. She's falling too far with salt in her scars. Won't let him taste her tears. She's falling too far. The girl that time forgot. Wasted moments, full of potential atonement, an angel in disguise. But he can see our Aberdeen heart, London eyes, Glasgow bones. She's a whistle in the catacombs, a paradox. Oh, he's in love with the statue in a marble block. He's in love with the girl that time forgot. She just shakes her ears. She's falling too far with salt in her scars. Won't let him taste her tears. She's falling too far. The girl that time forgot.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tenax Rebirth series. I think we had a little bit of a technical issue with CJ, but welcome
No, we're
back,
fine.
my man.
We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. I pressed the wrong button, but you didn't see it, so it's fine. I'm good at my job. I promise.
All right. Well, welcome
all the
back.
music
I think it's week 3 of the TEDx Rebirth series. We have a matchup for you guys today. We are going with Vulcan Red versus Cold Black. Two pretty actually even teams, though the scoreline doesn't quite tell that full story. It's 2-2 versus 1-3. But CJ, as you can kind of lay out, both these teams have very similar histories in this tournament so far.
No, absolutely. All these teams have, we're getting towards the end of the group stage. Obviously, all these teams have faced all of the teams in the group other than each other for the most part. And, we've seen them go up against teams like, the Sentinels, who are pretty gnarly here in this particular group. They've also gone up against the likes of Virus, who are a very good team. I believe we saw them last week absolutely dominate in the matches that we were able to see of them. So, absolutely no shame losing to both of those teams. The third team that both of these teams have faced, which is the anomaly, is Team Digital. Vulcan Red were able to get over on Team Digital, whereas Code Black unfortunately did fall to them in a 2-0 sweep. But, like we say here, anything can happen at any point. It's a very chaotic game. Both these teams have also gotten a win up against Lotus Blooms. We've seen very, very similar layouts with previous matches. This could be very, very, very close. It's all going to come. Honestly, it's all going to come down to those hero bans, I think, between these two teams. I'm not entirely informed on what particular sort of synergies that they've been building with and what team compositions that these two have been running recently. I'm not able to find much of any footage of that, but I imagine we'll be seeing a lot of flyers once again. Of course, we are in a very strong time for the Flyers
Oh,
at the
yeah.
moment. It is the era of the sky, as you would. We're gonna see a lot of Human Torch, I imagine. Might see that Iron Man Hulk combo that we saw a little bit of last week as well. But honestly, last week, the thing that was really, really interesting was the use of Namor. So I'll be curious to see if we see any
Yes.
sort of strong Namor picks as well. So that has been really valuable to a lot of teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually hoping to see a little bit more fleshed out here today of those different compositions because, like you said, last week was very, very heavy when it comes to the flying compositions. We saw, I think, Human Torch in every single game, which is not very indicative of the meta because as of right now, while flyers are kind of the meta and the thing that's shaping around the meta, there is still such a deep pool of different compositions. Obviously, that Guardians reviving comp is still very, very strong. It's very, very prevalent. It is not getting as much play because people are noticing it is not quite as strong as other compositions after some of the most recent buffs and changes, but it's still a viable composition, especially into, some other compositions, especially more towards like the brawling and dive comps, because the reviving aspect of them means that they can take those fights with the brawling compositions, and even if they do lose, the brawling comps have to kill them twice because of that reviving potential. So that's still on the table. Obviously, the brawl and dive, we have kind of been seeing paired, and you kind of tease that there, Namor has been very, very popular and has been growing in popularity recently because while he's no longer on that team up with the Luna Snow, he's now on the team up with the Hulk, which those gamma turrets are insanely strong, especially for more defensive holds. So people are actually using them on like control maps for holding the actual site. So while it does struggle a little bit on the opening stages, a combination of like a Psylocke or a Hulk is really good when it comes to taking the space. Then they rely on that Hulk to kind of hold choke points, and then the more with that hit scan and with those turrets to kind of just act as a defensive presence and to continue to support by fire that Hulk and support by dealing as much damage to the front line as they try to push back in. So I am actually real excited. I think we are going to see the Namor Hulk. I'm hoping. That's actually been a very fun one to get paired with to watch. But of course, Flyers still very much in the meta. Obviously, the Flyers composition, it's mostly like that Human Torch paired with the Invisible Woman on the support, and then paired with the Loki, so you can get double Invisible Woman and double Invisible Barriers. So that is very strong, and of course, pretty much any composition with Hello or Luna Snow, if they get through. I do know the reason that the Flyers comp is so strong right now is because people still don't want to deal with those two. So very often they are banned out, which means Flyers have free range. So yeah, there's a lot of different options on the table. I'm really excited to see which ones could possibly come out, though. I'm hoping for a little bit more variation this time around.
No, absolutely. And then we've also got that Fantastic Four team up we kind of touched on with Human Torch and Invisible Woman. That extra little bit of survivability provided by that team up can really make the difference. I think a lot of the time Human Torch last week was going to fall, but having that Invisible Woman being able to activate that sort of personal shield whenever you need to is really, really useful in a pinch. I'd also be really curious to see some of Veronica Frost and like the team ups of that sort of invites because we did see some very Vanguard heavy teams last week. The 3 Vanguard composition was quite popular. We saw the Hulk, we saw a little bit of the Thing, Magneto, some Doctor Strange as well. That portal can be really useful. So I would love to see a bit of use of Veronica Frost and Magneto in particular. Being able to create those clones can be very, very useful when trying to push on space and trying to create that little bit of pressure for the enemy team. But obviously, we are going into a couple of teams that are really, from what I'm seeing, based on stats alone, very, very similar in sort of skill levels. So we could see a lot of back and forth. And I think when it comes down to that, what really can make or break a team is how you deal with the Roma. We saw some very strong Star Lords last week, sort of filling in that Roma that Roma role, as it were. We also saw a Storm last week, kind of really sort of playing that flyer role, but also doing a little bit of dive and sort of challenging a lot of hit scans that have been left out in the open. So I think we're going to see some quite interesting back and forth fights. When it comes down to an even sort of team outlook like this, it's going to be how they handle that alt economy.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I think we are going to send it to a quick break real quick. It looks like we might be having a bit of a technical issue with one of our teams. So don't go anywhere. We are still going to have a game today. We just have to wait a little bit longer to see if we can get both teams in. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back briefly.
Tonight I'll rock me right to sleep. So I live with what I know now. Someone said you moved to SoCal with another girl. She must be what you need. I don't want to fall apart while moving on, but God, I need to. 'Cause doing less is doing harm. All the photographs we take, I don't have time to let them fade. Well, if you're with her, then there's not much to do. Yeah, tell me, when do I get used to losing you? Tell me, when do I get used to losing you? Tell me, when do I get used to losing you? Tell me, when do I get used to Tell me, when do I get used to losing you?
I smoke cigarettes at night now when the feeling's coming too loud. No, I didn't understand you then. But the more time runs between us, everything I hated seems to keep me company in ways you never did.
Oh, I don't want to.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do apologize for some technical difficulties. We're having some issues on the team side, but we do have a secondary match lined up for you that we're going to cover instead due to slight issues. Soren has entered the void itself because he cannot handle the excitement, because we are revisiting a team from last week that we saw a little bit of in Virus, a team that did very, very well, incredibly dominant throughout their play.
Yeah.
And we are going up against what I think is one of the favorites to win the whole damn thing. It's going to be Virus versus Sentinels. So we're going to have to completely reanalyze this situation. So Soren, take it away.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I'm gonna call you out for some of your wording there. I don't think you can count this as a secondary match. This is the creme de la creme. This is two teams that are 4-0, 8-0 on the map count. Neither team haven't dropped. There's only, I think, there's like two or three other teams who are completely undefeated so far this split. And you have two of the best ones here, and they happen to be in the same group. They have swept every other competition away, and obviously Virus is going to be the underdog here. Because like you said, it's not just that they are one of the best in the Tenax Rebirth series. Sentinels are one of the best in the world right now. They're explicitly definitely one of the best in NA. They're a top 4 team at a minimum, seeing as they were going up against the likes of 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, Shroud X, and just last week they finished in Fight Night number 1, beating all of those teams. So yeah, this is a heavy hitting roster. Virus, obviously, no slouches. This is going to be a competitive game. It's probably going to be one of the most competitive games of the entire split. This is like a playoff game, and we're going to get it here in the groups. I am super excited.
Absolutely. I mean, Sentinels. You just gotta say their name, and you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I
Strike fear to their enemies type deal.
But I do like Virus's odds because that's the thing. We've seen Virus under pressure. We've seen what they can do. And we have seen them pull it out of the bag because there were a couple of moments where Virus were kind of on the back foot last week, and then they were just able to absolutely, they pivoted accordingly, and they did everything they needed to push forward and to go undefeated up until this point. So obviously someone has to lose tonight. One of these teams is unfortunately going to have to get a strike on their record. But I don't think we would want it any other way. If we're going to have matches, if we're going to have tournaments, if we're going to have these kind of groups, you're going to have the best of the best. And you know what? We've got the best of the best here tonight. We're going to be able to see exactly what it takes to sort of be at this high level of Marvel Rivals play. Because, absolutely, Sentinels have their reputation. But Virus, they are on a very high level, very, very talented group of players. So I'm curious to see how they're going to adapt to this situation and face a team of a caliber like nothing we've ever seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, unfortunately, don't have all that much when it comes to Virus, because again, a bit of a smaller team, but again, earned their place here. So they're still a heavy hitter, but I don't have as much information as on their individual players, though we did see them rock the flying composition quite a few times in last week's games. However, Sentinels, very familiar with them, and obviously they're one of the foremost or one of the front runners when it comes to that flying composition. I mean, we've seen, I think it was Amazing on the Duelist, just absolutely frying, pun intended, on the Human Torch. Can put up some incredible numbers. I have vanished again. Don't worry, Scuff is a feature, not a bug. But we have seen Mason do amazingly on that champion, putting up huge damage, getting those final kills. And then you have, Super Gomez, who is known for the Wolverine, but can rock. I know I've seen him rock the Star-Lord very successfully as well. So we might see, the reviving comp also come out if that flying starts getting shut down. So they have options and they have superstars on their team that can kind of just carry them through. But again, it's going to come down to skill, and it's going to come down to these two heavy hitters. We are going to be making our way over to Yggdrasil's Path, of course. Convoy is going to be the first mode up, and I think we are about to get into game in just a moment. We are going to get picks and bans momentarily. Here we go. And there we go. We see the first semblance here of the pool getting picked.
No, absolutely. And, this is probably the most telling point of the entire match. Who are you going to ban? Who are you going to save? Who are people hovering? We've seen a couple of Human Torches already hovered. It looks like Groot and Hela have both been banned. So Sentinels in the red, Virus in the blue. So Sentinels are definitely trying to protect their flyers very early on. They're going to protect... Virus is going to protect the Psylocke as well. So they're going to, keep that in their back pocket. Someone who can be a bit of a roamer, try and perhaps get in the back line, apply a little bit of pressure where necessary. There is the Human Torch save for Sentinels. So I think that tells you a lot about what you can expect to see. Bruce Banner, I believe that is, has just been banned as well. So you're not going to see any of those Gamma Squids. We're not going to see the Iron Man team up. So that's going to be a lot of damage sort of taken out immediately. Iron Fist is gone for Virus, and they are going to save Veronica Frost, the new Vanguard. Obviously, Virus being a very Vanguard favoring team. If last week is anything to tell, getting rid of the Iron Fist is very smart in that regard. You can get rid of someone who does that percentile damage for their health, and now we're just waiting for Sentinels to do their second save.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually do like these protects coming out from the side of Virus as well. That Emma Frost is really strong into a very brawl-heavy composition. Also does well in that position, as well as obviously paired with that Psylocke. You can get a lot of value. I would actually not be surprised if we saw them rock like a Namor Hulk combination, because that Hulk with the Emma Frost, a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more reserved Vanguard with the Psylocke, who has been drastically rising in the pick rate. Not surprising to see both teams kind of hovering. We do see the Human Torches come out for both teams. We're seeing that Invisible Woman pairing. We're seeing the Emma Frost. It looks like it's almost going to be a complete mirror matchup, but it looks like Luna Snow is going to be going on the side of Sentinels. Meanwhile, at least right now, it looks like a Jeff hover for Rosie on Virus. Jeff not getting a lot of play, but is actually getting some play, mostly off the basis of the healing potential and the big ultimate. Okay, we are going to see the Fate Between Worlds come out, because that is just one of the best ultimates in the game. So Rosie does swap over to that Luna Snow.
We're also seeing Sentinels perhaps switching over to Doctor Strange for their Vanguard. We're seeing that 3 Vanguard spread in Emma Frost. Apologies for calling her Veronica. Don't know where that came from. Doctor Strange and Captain America going back over to Psylocke. So, these teams sort of making these last-minute decisions as and where they can. Obviously, this first point is going to be very interesting. It's very open, so the Flyers are going to love it here. And it's, weaves in and out. There's a lot of interiors that can be made use of. The doors have opened. Sentinels on attack, Virus on defense. And of course, we see that Human Torch trying to get the initial push up, sets up the 4. Staying true to the canon. We see now Virus already having to slightly back up for survivability. Emma Frost trying to hold that front line. Captain America's brawling one another. And of course, you have that Invisible Woman trying to keep their team up as well in the back line. Doing very, very well to sort of try and allow for the push. We see our first pick of the game. Virus is able to take down that Invisible Woman. So that's going to be huge for Virus. He might be yourself a bit of a front line here, as they have got past that initial bridge, so there's a little bit less high ground for Sentinels to play with. However, they've gotten a very good holding, already past that first little chicane, starting to get through to the final stretch of point 1.
Yeah, and you're already seeing a lot of value out of the Human Torch, and notably Virus doing a very good job. That opening pick, seeing as we are even before any major strategist ults are out, this is the time in which the attackers want to be pushing as far forward, so losing the Invisible Woman has set them back by quite a bit. We are finally seeing ultimates come through, though, the Fate Between Worlds being popped. I believe it was by Armori there to keep the team alive, is countered, however. So a lot being invested into this final push. Still a lot of time left on the clock, though. These attackers, Sentinels, wanting to just run this convoy down, but running into a lot of resistance.
Yeah, we saw both of the Invisible Woman's shields go up there to try and sustain it. It does look like Sentinels are ever slightly ahead on this. They forced Virus back into that hallway choke there, so it's going to be really difficult for them to try and re-establish themselves on the objective. We've seen 3 picks now, so Virus are down heavily. They did lose the Invisible Woman, but Gomez able to clean up the Human Torch, and once again Virus are seriously beginning to fall. They switch to Doctor Strange back over to Veronica Frost. They're not going to be able to get back to point. First section taken by Sentinels, who are taking a very, very dominant lead. And it's very, very clear Virus are going to need to pivot ever so slightly on their strategy. Does look like Rymazing is going to be outplaying slightly the Human Torch for Virus, who I believe is Lighter.
Yeah, absolutely. Time on the clock is drastically in the favor of Sentinels, doing a really good job of holding this defense back, not allowing them to stall out the push. We are seeing a lot of kills going both teams' ways. A lot of resets going to have to come out through some key players, Super Gomez and Perova. Meanwhile, Rosie, both teams losing key strategists. But we do see Sentinels breaking through the line a little bit here as Perova has made their way back through. They have that spawn advantage as well. So taking advantage of it as this convoy has really not stopped. There was moments where it was slowed, but now they're holding the choke points that they need to. They're not giving any space to Virus to have really much say in the matter. We do finally see them break through, but it might be a little bit too late. But they have accrued the ults that they need to possibly hold this. We do see that Captain America come through to stall just a little bit, but just not quite enough quite yet.
Lysa is letting out the supernova now to try and keep Virus from leaving that cave choke. Virus was able to get the Invisible Woman's shield up, which is going to be huge for them trying to push forward. They are going to need to try and touch point, though. They need to try and stall this convoy as much as they can. We're seeing here Crimzo, the Captain America, desperately trying to chip away at Virus, but they are going to pull the Lunar Snow ult, and I believe the Human Torch ult as well. They are throwing everything they can to try and slow down the Sentinels, but just isn't enough. They are slowly but surely inching closer and closer to that door to get the checkpoint. Invisible Woman ult comes out for Sentinels here, and now we are seeing Amazing just pushing through, getting the double pick on Frost and Lunar Snow, really forcing Virus back. And with just a couple meters gone, Lysit taken out as well, and Sentinels have the second checkpoint.
There we go. Amazing. Like I said, it's just a class act on that Human Torch. I said it during the preview, and it is down to a lot of his team support. I mean, Super Gomez and the rest of their Vanguard just pulling so much pressure in the front allows Amazing so much room to just dive into those choke points where the strategists are trying to hide, and they can just basically free farm them. But this is now a bit of a rough position now in that cave area. While it is very open in the top, it's a much more condensed space. They can't just fly back out of the way, so they are kind of stuck like rats in a cage. So the Flyers might struggle a little bit more, but that being said, Sentinels are just running them down. They haven't even, there we go, we do finally see a lot of their ults pop, but they get almost a full wipe on the Virus as they are just marching this convoy. Virus are struggling to really put any brakes on those goats.
And Virus now have a lot of ults stored up, but it's going to be how you can execute them. Raymond's going to need to get out there and try and stall that convoy as much as they can. Every second counts in a convoy match because, you know, any time you can save, pushing towards that first objective can be huge. Virus do finally get control over the convoy now, and they are starting to force Sentinels back ever so slightly. Raymond did very, very well using his ult to push forward for his team. Now they have control over the convoy, they have control over the battlefield, but we are seeing incredible plays from Kurova here, keeping their team up as best they can. Virus unable to get a valuable pick. Finally, Kurova goes down, Aramori as well. Both strategists have been eliminated. I believe that was with the use of the Psylocke ult to try and make a little bit of space here for the enemy team. We did see Crimzo pull out the Captain America ult as well, but it wasn't enough to save his team. Now Virus in a very, very favorable position with the ult economy for it as well. We see Emma Frost taken down, so that's going to be another rollout for them once again, who are starting to make their way back to the point. But we're seeing Lysa come out here, try and get as much value as he can with his ultimate, forcing Amazing back just a little bit back to his spawn to try and help regather with his team. Virus has done really well to pivot this last section.
They've done really well, and it's been off the back of their ult usage. I mean, they pushed Sentinels back without even really investing all that much, just that one Captain America ult. So there's a lot to be used. This is going to be a full-fledged fight with pretty much everyone. This might just be the one to determine the map. We do see the Fate Between Worlds come out from Aramori as well as Rosie, both trying to keep the team alive. It means a lot of the damage is being mitigated. Not a lot of burst to be done, but now as the strategist ults do start fading away, we're going to start seeing people fall. We see Rosie and Unset both fall in the process. They're right by their spawn though, so it's going to be a quick timer. But at this point, every second, like you said, does count. They need to get back onto that convoy. They need to slow this down.
Defense does have advantage at this sort of late stage of the match. They do have the small advantage, but you do have Amazing right there, who's going to try and cut them off, not allow them to come out at all. note, though, Virus do still have control over the point, thanks to License sort of being in that backline and holding it. So that push, you know, it did save the few seconds for Virus' team to respawn and come back out. Sentinels have regained control over the point. They're going to continue to push to the tree of Idrisil, but they're all coming out of that left door, right hand for the defense. And we see that Raimesi's just been farming that ultimate. There is the Supernova. And once again, he's just going to try and keep them all grouped up in that little section. We are seeing a lot of Virus trying to push forward, but there is the entire team is down. And now Sentinels pushed into overtime, but able to get to the tree. So that is going to be big for Sentinels. So long as they can keep Virus from making it to the end of the map, they have got this first match in the bag.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to give them massive props. I mean, Sentinels made it into that second point with 4 minutes on the timer. I think they had 3 going into point 3. So the fact that Virus were able to hold them off for so long is a testament. This is not going to be an easy fight. Obviously, the push to that point 3 was pretty easy for Sentinels. They were just having the run of it. But the moment they were in that, like I said, more contained area where the Flyers weren't going to be able just to like freely get out of danger and come back in after getting the heals, they were kind of stuck in the mix with everyone. They did struggle a little bit. Plus, of course, we did see the Flyers on the side of Virus who were able to kind of hold back on that choke point right at the entrance of point 3. So it was a very, very good job from Virus as they were managing to hold back Sentinels. Not quite enough at the end, but like you said, as long as they can make it to the final point, we're going to be making it to overtime, and they kind of need it because this is a very, very rough position for them. They need to get it. They need to get to that overtime if they want to have a chance, because if you give one map to Sentinels, they're just going to take it and run. So getting that first map is going to be huge to the momentum of Virus if they could do it and they can bring back, I don't want to say an upset here or a comeback, as they are still in the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Doors have opened, so the second half of this match is now officially underway. We saw Raimesi there trying to hold the attacking team Virus with his flames as much as possible, and now we are seeing Sentinels just slowly hunting down Virus's teammates one by one. Virus done very, very well though to get some good distance on the point. I do think that maybe Sentinels focused a little too much protecting from the roamers, and they've already allowed Virus to sort of get through the chicane, and already they're on the final stretch of this first section. We're starting to see those ults build up. Raimesi already at 50, going up to 60%, but Z-Way on Emma Frost for Virus is already getting up to a decent charge, as well as we see them slowly chipping away. I think that all got interrupted there, so they're going to be reset a little bit, but they're doing very, very well in holding themselves together, at least for the moment. Sentinels re-establishing this front line, do get a very nice pick on Lysa and Raymond, forcing them to restart, but Virus got a lot of good distance in this first push. If they can pull off another one like that, they will have the checkpoint underway, and they'll be a third of the way through to the match point.
Yeah, absolutely. Virus actually doing a good job of pushing there. Again, it was in that moment before, you know, any strategist ults were available. So it was kind of just a free-flowing who can get the kills early. And Virus, unfortunately, did lose those 2 opening trades, so they are pushed back. But they have still made more ground this push than Sentinels did on their side. So this is still a very good position, and we are finally seeing those strategist ults. We're actually seeing a lot of ults get popped. Amazing Super Gomez and Korova, all 3 ults being invested at the exact same time to try to hold Virus back. It did get outflashed, which does mean that we are going to see a little bit of a pullback, but seeing as Psylocke's already going to be back in the process, Raymond going to pop that Captain America ult to try to take a little bit more ground as they are still fighting for it. Sentinels holding a good line here though, and here we go. The Supernova, the Fate Between Worlds, everything being invested in both of these teams, trying to either hold the line or take as much ground as possible. Whoever falls first is really going to set the pace, and Korova is the one to fall, Aramoria as well. So both strategists gone. Sentinels are going to have to run for the hills because Virus have cracked open the line.
And that is Raymond's power as a Vanguard, able to get some very, very good picks there. And I do believe that Virus is going to get this checkpoint with a minute left on the clock as well. So that is going to go into the bank for them. We do see the portal from the Doctor Strange. It's going to be their way to try and get back to the point. Sentinels trying to get their lock on the point down as best they can. It's going to be a case of whether or not Virus have what it takes. They have lost 2 of their team already. Lysa and Raymond Ziwe gone down as well. So I do think the switch to Doctor Strange was a very, very intelligent play. Silent forced to retreat with their ult in tow. We are going to see Invisible Woman coming back after the respawn. They went down as well. Now Virus is going to be fully regrouped, but they do need to get through to that combo. They have 30 seconds on the clock. They thought they had the checkpoint 1. They thought they were going to section 2, but unfortunately the immediate pivot from Sentinels, an incredibly smart play, was enough to hold them. It looked like Virus went for the Psylocke ult, but Invisible Woman was there. The invisible shield completely nullifying it, and there is the shield from Virus as well. That's 2 very large strategist ults out of play, trying to protect from the supernova, and now Virus are in a very rough position in the last few seconds of this game.
Absolutely, time is ticking, overtime is through, and they are going to pop multiple ults to get in, but obviously multiple members are falling. Vanguard and Strategist both down. It's going to be a 5-on-4 if they cannot hold the line for just a little bit longer. Time is ticking, and we're seeing everything being thrown. Sentinels are so close to taking map 1, they can almost taste it, but they are getting chased away momentarily. Hosa is going to chase away the Vanguard, so it is just dance around this convoy now. Everyone's back in, but one by one, Virus is falling. They're losing ground. Meanwhile, Sentinels holding strong, not losing any members yet.
Invisible Woman was taken out, and then Emma Frost and Captain America followed suit, and that was the story of the match. It was the strategist that defined who lived and who died. Virus did really, really well in that first round to push them through to overtime, but unfortunately Sentinels was able to hold the ground long enough for Virus to sort of burn themselves out, unfortunately, and Sentinels are going to take the first round in this best of 3 series. Virus taking, I'm pretty sure, their first loss on the board.
Yeah, that is the first loss for them so far this split, but again, it's Sentinels. I mean, if you're going to lose your first map, there's really no better team to do it to. I mean, Sentinels are an incredible team, as you could see there. Rye Mazing earning the MVP for that map, and no surprising, him on that Human Torch is always going to be a sight to see. You have to constantly keep an eye on them because they are just running into the back line and free farming those kills. It was constantly putting pressure onto the strategists in the back of Virus, and Virus did a very good job. Again, they obviously had a pretty rough start. They really couldn't do all that much to deter Sentinels in the beginning, but once they got to that point 3, they actually did a really good job of holding. But Sentinels on that defensive side, it just seemed like there was nothing Virus could do. Virus would find one pick, and unfortunately, they just couldn't find a pick onto any of like the big problems when it comes to those big team fights. They couldn't deal with Kurova and Aramori. They just could not find those individual kills onto the strategist. And the one time they did, we see them immediately with that quick swap. We see, I think it was Kurova switched over to the Doctor Strange, and then you saw Super Gomez switched over to the Invisible Woman, so they switched that 3-1-2 rather than the 2-2-2 that we had been seeing. And I mean, 3 Vanguards and 1 Duelist is very strong currently. It's not the strongest, but in those very close situations, that portal is just too valuable. I mean, Doctor Strange's not the strongest in the meta right now. You wouldn't run them in a normal composition, but in that specific case, is the best thing they could have done, and it's the reason they were able to get back to that point before they had taken to a point 2, and that held the line for them. So that very quick change is the difference maker. That's what makes a good team great, and a great team excellent, and one of the best in the game. So Sentinels, not surprising, but man, very good play from them, though. Virus, a lot of highlights to really look back at.
a true show of experience to be able to pivot at that late stage on a dime and just being able to communicate with the team the
Oh
needs
yeah.
and being able to pull that off instantaneously. I do want to give props though to Raymond of Team Virus, who did very, very well. Raymond was
Oh
the
yeah.
sort of core of the team. He was the one keeping their team on point, keeping presence, always pressuring on as best as they could. So really, really well done. That Captain America that they've been pulling off over the last couple of weeks is incredible. I do believe we are lined up for our second match, which is going to be Control, as it was last week. And if Virus are able to run away with this match, hopefully we'll be able to see a convergence. We're going into Krakoa, the new map of the season, and it is time for ban picks.
Yeah, absolutely. And this map, interesting, while it is very open, I've actually seen teams not pull out many flyers here. I know Sentinels did still rock the flyers when I saw them in some of the other tournaments. However, this map, because it is so open, since it is a control, it does really benefit of a more defensive heavy setup. So we do see Sentinels very clearly wanting to lean towards that flyer setup again, as we do see that Hela get banned away. The Groot gets taken by Virus. I mean, Groot is kind of a ban hero right now. If you give him away, it's kind of free for the team. So get that off the board. No one wants to deal with it, but we do see the Hulk. That makes me believe we are going to see the Protect come out for Namor. I'm interested to see. Okay, yeah. Sentinels see that Hulk pick up and they say, no, there's not going to be a Hulk Namor here. They're going to use one of their bands to get out of the way. So that Hulk Protect might not get as much value as anymore, but it did pull a band away for Sentinels. So that could be on the strategy for Virus. I am liking this little tit for tat that we got going on between these two teams. They're both very clearly knowledgeable of what the other one wants to do. So I'm excited to see. I would not be surprised if we did see a more brawly Protect here, like a Psylocke Protect would not be surprising to me at all, especially because obviously both teams really wanted to operate her and show that they could do so in map number 1. Both teams operating Psylocke to great success. So never mind. Emma Frost also really good into the brawl meta, just more focused on the Vanguard. If they're not banned, they're protected. So not surprised at all.
No, absolutely. As we get into these last couple of picks, one more save for Sentinels, who will be in red for you viewers. Virus in blue, going to save Invisible Woman. Not surprised, saving Human Torch and Invisible Woman, looking for that Fantastic Four team up. Banning Rocket Raccoon like they did last game as well, who's seen a little bit of a buff recently, and it's a very, very strong healing output when played correctly, which no doubt they would be at these high levels of play. The final ban is going to be to Virus, who once again ban Loki. You're not going to be able to clone that Invisible Woman ultimate. You're not going to have as much healing output in that regard. We're starting to see the picks. Raymond going for Captain America once again. Very, very smart. We're seeing two Veronica Frost. And again, we're seeing very much a sort of mirror match. Rosie going for the Luna. Perhaps we did see them pick Jeff the Shark earlier at the beginning of the last match as well. But, we're likely to see that Luna Snow once again. Karova still to pick their hero, perhaps just sort of waiting for those last couple of moments. It does look like it's going to be Invisible Woman. So once again, we're seeing the mirror match. I do expect Rosie to make the switch, but we will see. So we're going to be looking out for that amazing Human Torch. We're going to be looking for that Raymond Captain America as well, to be trying to sort of apply that pressure on the point. Krakoa, very, very good for Captain America. Once you get that ultimate up, he's able to leap a great distance, make use of the amount of high ground on a couple of these points. As we start to see the doors will be opening in a couple of seconds, and we're going to be getting into our first control point of the round.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine both teams going to be making use of those portals and seeming to do so. as both teams are going to be racing to get in. This is control, so of course, getting control of the point, I know, seems counterintuitive, but it is the case, is most important. So both are going to be wanting to play for positioning early here. That pick of the Human Torch for both teams is going to be very helpful, as we are seeing the perimeter get set up. The idea of, even if I can't get there first, you won't be able to get there either, is going to stall out a little bit, as we are seeing the brawl come through, and actually Outflash is going to find Crimzo, maybe pushed up a little bit too aggressively, and that's going to be huge for Virus, as that's a lot of pressure that's going to be taken off of that.
Absolutely, we see Invisible Women there protecting Amazing. Absolutely, the Outflash does get taken down by Super Gomez, so they do get the revenge for that one. And unfortunately, Flash is going to need to do a very long rollback on this particular point. Down goes Toast as well. Rosie is taken out. Virus now have lost 3 members of their team. 4 members of their team. There is the 5. That's effectively a team wipe with how Flash needs to do the initial rollback. Sentinels get control of the point, and that percentage is going to start ticking up. Very, very well executed from the Sentinels. It does go to show that you lose 1 member of your team and the foundations will fall apart. It is a 6-player team. Every player counts. We're seeing Gomez trying to set up here a bit of a protective boundary, keeping eyes out for their team, no doubt relaying information. Raymond was able to push through the ranks, however, maybe start establishing themselves on point a little bit. We see Lyset trying to brawl with Amazing here, who's got the support from the Invisible Woman, who's going to keep them alive as best they can. Very, very good use of utility from Rosie, trying to get their team up. Amazing was taken out by Outflash, but Raymond was taken out by, I believe that was the Emma Frost. That's 2 massive players taken out in this fight. So Virus are really going to need to try and make an opening, but they just get taken out once again. Emma Frost getting a 3 kills in that. Get the 4th gets taken out by Aramori, I believe. Yeah, Pizza Toast was taken out as well. So once again, Virus have to make that long walk back to the point. They're not going to have the portals to their full extent. We do see them trying to group up, but obviously Sentinel's very knowledgeable about the map layout already for them. The Invisible Woman's shield does go up. We see the Luna Frost as well, so both strategies also try and make this point worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much everything being invested by both sides here. We see all 4 strategist ults get popped practically at once. We do see one was kind of held, so it finally does go away. But in the end, it is seeming like a pretty even trade. Both strategists now gone for Sentinels. Meanwhile, Rosie is still up. That could be huge, but the rest of the team does fall. So that is going to be it for point number 1. That point, really, really difficult to go for retake, because obviously a lot of scattered tunnels, but with so many tunnels, that does mean there's so many choke points. And when you're going into, you know, a Psylocke and Emma Frost and that Human Torch, trying to push through any choke is just really, really difficult. I'm actually surprised we didn't see a bit of a swap in team composition to a more brawly, like a Thing or a Hulk, to try to break through some of those chokes. But they instead try to stick with this Human Torch composition, the flying comp, and not quite as successful, as Sentinel are able to 100-0 them in round number 1. But of course, there is still possibly 2 more rounds to go here on Control. And it looks like both teams are going to stick to their guns, neither one wanting to swap. I do want to keep an eye out, though, for those first couple seconds. But for the strategist ults, it is kind of Wild West, and that entire first round almost completely fell apart because of that early pick on the Raymond, who's one of their best players, and they're very push and pressure heavy Vanguard. So losing that so early was kind of to the detriment, and I don't think they were able to get their footing back. So look forward to seeing if they can hold out for a little bit longer and wait towards their strategist ults to have a bigger impact in this round.
No, absolutely. Going into round 2, we do see Amazing pull out the Supernova very early. Obviously, ults carry across in a control game. Sentinels had the advantage with ult economy on this occasion. Going into round 2, able to save with 3 of them. Obviously, Amazing using his to try and establish a bit of a position on point. We do see Crimzo get the pick on Lysa, but Outflash was able to take out the Invisible Woman, and Super Gomez taken out by Raymond. We're seeing the value of that Captain America Now, we do see Tekid try and use the Veronica ult, the Emma Frost ult, sorry, to try and put a little bit of pressure in. We do see a pick. Z-Way goes down, so they're going to be down 2 Vanguards now. As Raymond gets eliminated, Outflash able to take out Amazing, but it may have been too little too late.
Yeah, getting chased down now. Sentinels pushing out a little bit past their means. Not going to give up too much, seeing as most of the team for Virus had to reset. So this is a point now in favor of Sentinels. Time is ticking 35-ish% of the way through. You're really hoping to see a big change up from Virus, but instead of changing compositions, they're going to be changing their angle of attack. They're going for this more flank push coming in from the side rather than straight on. Though we do see a little bit of aggression from Raymond yet again, though isolated. He is getting chased down, but doesn't look like he's going to get into the arms of his teammates. Meanwhile, on the side, Outflash did fall. So the reset comes through, and Raymond does not survive that long either. So Virus almost staggering in a little bit, despite not really needing to. The rest of the team is up, but there's a little bit over aggression from this Psylocke and this Captain America, is meaning that they're constantly in the 5v6 position, which makes it already so much more difficult to push into a really good team that's holding this point so well.
The incredible job from Sentinel, getting up to 80% now, just 20 to go. We do see Virus trying to get a bit of presence on the point, but we're seeing a lot of ults get used. We see Amazing here with the Supernova trying to protect his team as best they can. There is the Invisible Wound ult. Gomez does get taken out by Z-Way though. Amazing able to balance that out by taking out Rosie. Virus did pull off their invisible shield as well, but overtime is in effect. Is it going to be enough? Raymond had to use his ult to stay alive. Pizza Toast doesn't have theirs. Sentinels do start to fall though. We might start to see Virus get control over the point. They are able to get the final kill on Crimzo, and Virus are still in it, able to capture the point incredibly well. Now gonna have to protect themselves from Sentinels, who no doubt are regrouping. We saw the temporary switch to Doctor Strange, but they are back to Psylocke. Virus might have a chance to stay in this series.
Yeah, notably, we did see that swap, which means there was some ult cost loss there, but they decide they have the time to work with, so not, in fact, going to go with it. Though we do see them push back out. Raymond, yet again, caught a little bit far ahead, being punished a lot more this game than he was in the last, constantly on low health. And we do see the ults. Outflash is going to use what he can to try to secure a kill onto this back line, but finds nothing, and Korova actually picks him out. So now 2 have fallen for Virus, and they've been so good at retaking, but the defense is failing. Now only 2 left on point. Make it 1. Raymond yet again on their lonesome. Overtime ticking, and I don't know if they'll make it back in time.
I don't think they will. We see the Doctor Strange get pulled out, but it's not going to be enough time to set up the portal. That is it. It opens at the last possible moment, and unfortunately for Virus, that is going to be a severe mark on their record, because Sentinels maintain their undefeated streak, their clean sweep.
Yeah. I mean, that puts their record at, I believe it is now 10-0 in terms of map count. They're 5-0, and they've done it in dominant fashion. And again, Virus, it's definitely not the best showing from them, but it's not like they're going up a team in which they were the outright favorites. In fact, they were, I think, the clear underdogs going in. They had the same record, but when you're going up against Sentinels, it's not just you're going up against a team, you're going up a world-class talent up against a world-class org. So the fact that they put in a good showing, I mean, that map 1, obviously a rough time on the attack side, but holding them off at that very end, only losing by inches and stopping them, and almost stopping them from getting that 3rd point on the convoy is huge for them. So when you're duking out with a giant like that, every win is a win. So Virus, unfortunately, not the best showing, but when you're going up against competition like that, you take every win you can get. So nothing to hang your head in shame over. But Sentinels, the storyline continues. I think they're the odds-on favorite for the split, but of course, no one's infallible. Excuse me. So it's really going to come down to if any team here has what it takes to knock down the Giants in this split. I'm excited as we are starting to round out the groups. I'm excited to see if any team really brings the heat in the playoffs.
Absolutely, and we will be right back here next week to cover off those playoffs for you. Unfortunately, that's the only match we have lined up for you tonight, but we will be back to cover the closing of this tournament. Very, very excited as the competition's starting to reach those final stages. People starting to realize that it's everything to play for. Sentinels, absolutely, they have the streak on their back, but with the streak comes the pressure. And will they be able to deliver it out in the final moments? We will find out next week. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us tonight. I've been CJ Zephyr. This has been the beautiful and talented Soren joining me on the desk, and we will see you on Friday. Stay safe, everybody.